I think Draymond was listening to the show yesterday. That's what I think.
You think so?
I think he was listening to the show because
he was free.
Well, no, he's not free. It's Valentine's Day. He's got a wife. He's got a wife.
Right. I have a wife.
Exactly. And he has fewer than 3 kids and apparently a bunch of problems because
his biggest problems are the 4 guys on defense with him.
Well, that's the thing. I've been waiting for Draymond to have that night. And it's surprising to me that it took, what are we at, 58 games?
Yeah. 29 and 29.
It's surprising that it took 58 games for Draymond to finally find a microphone. And maybe this is because he couldn't do it earlier in the season because of what happened preseason. We know that he had to work his way game by game, week by week, back to a spot where he could have the same voice in the locker room that he used to have. We know that. So maybe November and December were off the table. It's a little surprising to me that it didn't happen in January, but we finally got it on February 14th. Which is Draymond going, we stink on defense. And, of course, as a player, he's not going to come out and say, we can't play good defense. He's going to say, so far we won't. And this was the conversation you and I have now had 3 times. Is this a matter of can't or won't? Because that is what's going to determine how the Warriors handle this. And right now, Draymond looked at all of his teammates and said, this is a matter of won't. This is a matter of want to. And if that's what you're telling me, then that's what we got to use to assess the Warrior defense right now.
And I think that it is some, in terms of can't or won't, it is a little bit of won't, but it's also can't. And if you look at who they have on the floor, you've got Klay Thompson, who's not the same defender that he used to be, certainly as an on-ball defender. Dante DiVincenzo, fine, good defender, not elite. Jordan Poole, not great. Jonathan Kuminga, young and inexperienced. And you get to Lamb, Baldwin, Jerome, and Moses Moody. Man, he's still trying to find his way in his new role. You've got a team that's broken from the inside out in terms of defense.
Draymond last night, this is what he said.
Man, a man of very few words.
What do we not have up?
What's that? Defense is 1 to 2 steps extra. I'm going to take that extra step to get there or I'm not. And that's all I will. And we don't have that as a team. You can have it as one guy can really get out and have that myself. One can have that. But if you don't collectively have that, it's just like if you put a team together and it's like one guy can really get after it. Nobody else brings anything on that side of the ball. They don't even bring effort. You could put Steph Curry or Kevin Durant or anybody else out there on offense. If no one else is going to want to do the extra things, then it doesn't work. And so you have to do it collectively. And that is a huge responsibility that falls on my shoulders, and I haven't gotten us there.
So
I like the ownership.
I don't know if we buy it, but we have no choice but to buy it right now. In other words, he's saying we just haven't done it, but we can. I don't know if I buy that, but if I do buy that, let's take what he just said at face value.
Okay.
Well, then it's kind of, this is a big shot across the bow of the Warriors. He's essentially saying, why are we 29 and 29? Because we haven't tried hard enough.
Right, and collectively, we haven't done it. And he also takes responsibility for being the defensive leader and saying that I haven't done that. I haven't put us in a position to where we collectively can be better defensively. And I think individually, you're not as good defensively as you were last year. And you and I have talked about this player versus player, year over year. And I know it's only been 8 months since they won the chip, but 8 months is a long time when you become a veteran in the league. And there is a point where you start to lose it. You lose a step, you lose 2 steps, and then maybe it's over. And it happens fast. It doesn't happen over the course of 3 years or 5 years. And so you look at the individuals, and maybe individually you've lost a step. And then you look last night, you didn't have Wiggins, who is at least your second best defender when he wants to be. You don't have GP2 at all, who would be your third best defender individually. Steph Curry at least is a guy who knows where he's supposed to be. He's not in there. You look at some of those rotations last night, and it's Jerome, it's JMG, it's DiVincenzo. These are guys who are not known for defense. Jordan Poole, and you're going to get absolutely pillaged. That third quarter was an offensive parade. It was a conga line to the rim by the Clippers.
Of course, the Clippers are, the old Lawler's Law. Who's going to get to 100 points first?
Thank you.
Well, they're going to get to 100 points before the fourth quarter even starts. I looked it up. Do you know how many times? Let's go individual quarters.
Scat-da-da-da.
Do you know how many times the Warriors have held the opponent under 25 points in any given quarter in their last 10 games?
That's 40 quarters.
40 quarters.
40 quarters.
How many times do you think the Warriors have held the opponent?
That's $10, by the way.
Under 25 points in a quarter in those 40 quarters.
Well, I'm going to think, and I'm looking at the box score from last night where you held them to 29 in the fourth quarter. That doesn't qualify.
Held them to 29.
You held them to 29.
Yeah, held them on a pace for, what is that, 116 points or something like that.
In a game where they were comfortably ahead and they didn't really need to score.
Right.
The previous game, I don't think they held the opponent under 25 in any quarter. So if I pulled up the game log and looked at the opponents, I could see a couple of dogs in there. 40 quarters, I would say 4 times, Mark, they've held opponents under 25.
You're pretty good at these games, by the way.
Well, once you give me a little bit of time to and I haven't honestly looked it up.
You haven't? Because I emailed it to you last night. Do you not read my emails?
Dude, I was up at 3:30 trying to make sure this baby went back to sleep.
Yeah, it's all good. The answer's 5.
Yeah. Okay.
5 times.
In 40 quarters.
So, on average, over the last 10 games, the Warriors hold the opponent under 25 points in a quarter 1 time every 2 games.
That ain't good.
1 time.
1 lousy time?
It's so bad. And I wonder with Valentine's Day being last night if this would resonate with some people. Yeah, it was. Yeah, newsflash.
Might have missed that.
Well, here's the thing. This is one thing that I think is important for days like Valentine's Day. I know some of you think that, this corporate money machine, and it's here to corner men because this isn't our comfort zone and our area of strength. Look.
Talk about a box and one.
All people want is for their significant other to try and to acknowledge. You don't need to have the perfect gift. But what happens after relationships, I think, have been together for a long time is people start coasting. You coast. You're just like, this is our 28th Valentine's Day together. The kids are going sideways. I got work. I got 50 things. Yeah, whatever. Here's a piece of chocolate. You know that pathetic line outside of C's Candy at about 4 o'clock on Valentine's Day? Don't get in that line. Don't mail it in. Don't coast. What I'm starting to feel about the Warriors is that the whole thing with 4 rings through this dynasty, we've now decided we're just going to coast. And if things are ready for us to fall a certain way come April, sure, we'll try at that point. But think about some of the things that this organization has done. Klay Thompson played for the first time last night on back-to-backs. Did it look like anything was wrong? Did it look like he can't play back-to-backs? So why hasn't he played any back-to-backs? Because you're coasting.
He played 28 minutes.
Fine.
He didn't play 38 minutes.
Then give us 28 minutes. Give us 20. You're Klay. You can do it. They slow play every injury. They do a number of load management games throughout the year. I'm not saying they're alone in that. They've signed your guy, Andre Iguodala, to literally not play until we get to the playoffs. So you've got all these things where the Warriors they've gotten to a point where they feel like we're going to kick our feet up. Let's find a nice little lounge next to the pool. And if things are ready for us to hit the gas come March or April, we will. And I think Draymond last night is finally like, here's the problem. It's now time to get up off the lounger. And sorry, we're in a habitual mode now of coasting.
Right. 58 games in, it's tough to flip the switch. And, you got 24 games left to go. And how many of those games will Steph Curry play? Probably not more than 20 at the most, maybe more like 18. And even if Steph plays, your biggest issue isn't scoring the basketball. You put up 124 again last night, Mark, but you gave up 134. So is the issue that Steph Curry's going to come in and fix your ailments in terms of offense? No, you don't have offensive ailments. The problem right now is defense. Again, you shot 54% last night from the floor, 44% from 3. And, oh, by the way, you shot more free throws than the opponent. That used to mean you win by 10 to 12 points. You win easily. But now the Clippers, they shot 53%. And they outshot you from 3, and they matched you from the line. And ultimately, defensively, you are a team of turnstiles right now. So I'm glad Draymond spoke to it and he took accountability as the defensive leader. But ultimately, I don't know if the fix is within the roster. And everyone wants to talk about the buyout market. If you're Joe Lacob and you look at this team, 29-29, and you look at the buyout market, even if you could get, let's just say, Serge Ibaka, a guy who can play defense, he can shoot the three. Are you going to look at Serge Ibaka and say, yeah, I want to spend $8 million in tax fees and salary to bring him in? And what does it do for us? Does that make us a championship team?
Of course not. Of course not. Right. So here's the sticking point also. Here's a little bit more from Draymond last night after the game.
Our defense isn't very good. Kind of been the story all year, and you got to do something to fix it. It has to come from within. Defense is all about a will, a want to defend. Defense isn't fun. Just got to want to do it if you want to win, and we have it.
Okay, so he's literally, I mean, we hear fans, radio hosts say that stuff all the time. Defense is just about desire. It's about will. It's about want to. It's about dirty work. It's about all of those things. But now Draymond Green is saying it. I mean, he's straight calling out his teammates because in this talk, he also said, look, one individual can want to do it and can do it well, and that's not good enough. This has to be a collective want to. And now, what's 82 minus 58?
24.
24. You got 24 games left.
24
to show us if you actually want to or you just can't. I mean, I have a hard time believing that the Warriors collectively have just decided, like with it, we're good. That's enough. Although that's part of what I was just saying. Like they're sometimes when you're coasting at such a level, you get to a spot where you don't know how to stop coasting. I'm not challenging whether the Warriors try. I'm not challenging whether it's a good organization. It just feels like the scales have tipped. The whole process has been about April. Be ready for April. They've minimized everything before April to such a level that I don't know how you look everybody in the eye and go, man, we got to get after this like dogs. Because inside the hallways, they're giving guys day offs for I don't even know what.
Right.
What? And look, whatever Andrew's got going on, personal thing last night, fine. Right? We got personal stuff. We miss shows for personal stuff. So that's okay.
Not us.
Me. Anyway, but, it just...
But they did this last year,
Mark. You
Mark.
can't get out of the habit once that becomes your thing.
They did the same thing last year, but the big difference was they started the year last year 18-2. After they started 18-2, the rest of the year they went 35-27, which is not completely dissimilar to what they've done this year at 29-29. But because last year you had that cushion, you went 18-2. Draymond was hurt, no rush. Klay Thompson didn't play until January, no rush. Steph Curry got hurt late, no rush. You got to April, you were 53-29. You were a 3 seed. You were in a solid spot to where you could make a run. This year's team has been not too dissimilar. Steph's been hurt. We know that. Wiggins was out with the adductor and the non-COVID illness. Fine. Klay doesn't play back-to-backs. No big deal. And that here you are now, 29-29, and you're the 9 seed, and you are an eyelash away from not even being in the play-in game. So the difference between last year and this year is that here you are now, 24 games left to go. Steiny made a good point last year, and I had forgotten this. They won their last 5 games in the regular season. They were ramping up for a playoff run. They might have to do that this year just to make it into a play-in game. So what they did last year was not completely different from this year, but they had that unbelievable cushion at the start of the year.